If you enjoy the content on this channel, please like and subscribe. From the likes of Mike Faist, Josh O'Connor, Jeremy Allen White and Glen Powell, the controversial new hot rodent trend has definitely changed the public perception of beauty and privilege within Hollywood. The new phrase, known as hot rodent men, originates from memes from the 2007 Pixar animation Ratatouille, which were brought forth online by commentators to suggest that there were a group of new male celebrities considered Hollywood's latest sex symbols despite, or because of, having rodent-like features. These include the likes of Josh O'Connor and Mike Faist, the stars of the tennis threesome drama Challengers, Saltburn's Barry Kennehaug, Jeremy Allen White from The Bear, and Glen Powell, of course, who was in Twisters. Further examples of the hot rodent aesthetic supposedly include Tom Holland, Adam Driver, the 1975 singer Matt Healy, and even Timothée Chalamet. Angular features, a larger nose, and often upkept hair were the shared physical characteristics of the trend. In June, the New York Times asked, "Who is a rodent man?" Filmmaker Christy Guevara Flanagan said, "I think the entire history of cinema has been based on a narrow perspective of who can be attractive, who can be sexy, and who can be seen as a romantic partner." This new trend now, of course, also joins up with the other recent trend of the golden retriever boyfriend, said to describe a man who is particularly affectionate and excitable. This is in reference, of course, to Taylor Swift's partner, Travis Kelce, the famous NFL player. There was even the title of Short King, which epitomized the likes of Daniel Radcliffe, The Weeknd, Jeremy Allen White once again, Tom Holland and Cillian Murphy, whose looks and charisma are celebrated alongside their relatively small stature. Short kings are said to have confidence in themselves and to be happy with their height. This, of course, going against the usual Western society norms, feeling that smaller men seem to be less masculine than their taller counterparts. Of course, as you can imagine, there's been lots of fun with these labels, but of course there's also been huge backlash. It's the same old story, that people feel that good looks are perceived as a way to get ahead in society. And naturally, calling people hot rodent men has been derided by some as particularly unflattering and somewhat insulting, as you're basically comparing these men to a rat. But at the end of the day, this is the internet driving this conversation. It's a new trend, it's a new meme, and it's a new topic that has been driven by social media platforms. In the old days, of course, it was the movie executives deciding who was good looking enough and attractive enough to become the next big star. You would see these people on the silver screen, larger than life, and almost be told to find them beautiful. Hollywood's standard of conventional male attractiveness is felt by many actors themselves as well. Star of Saltburn, Barry Kennehaug, recently said, "It's nice not to be looked at as a weird-looking guy, the unique, freaky little freak man, child." Now, of course, in celebrity culture within the West, there's always tended to be a focus on female stars, focusing on women's bodies, listing the most attractive female celebrities and scrutinizing their physical shape, particularly after giving birth. The bodies of men increasingly appear on these sites, but so far there are no comparable internet lists of women grouped according to their physical attributes, in line with hot rodents or short kings. Maybe finally people are starting to learn that it's not worth objectifying women, or men in this case, anymore. I mean, look, in the past, female actors have historically suffered disproportionately to live up to the beauty standards set by the society around them. I mean, back in the golden age of cinema, women were expected to play a certain type of role, generally the romantic lead, and usually the blonder and smaller they were, and of course white, the more of a star they could become. It was only really an actress like Bette Davis who gained some notoriety for almost playing the sort of tough, more pro-feminine. So the question now becomes, is the hot rodent or short king simply a continuation of male privilege in Hollywood, where men have always had more scope than their female counterparts in order to be considered attractive? In the old days, studio executives chose the likes of Cary Grant and James Stewart as romantic leads, but that didn't stop less conventionally handsome men like Humphrey Bogart and Bing Crosby also breaking through. In the 1970s, both blonde and blue-eyed Robert Redford and the short in stature Dustin Hoffman were both judged to be pin-ups of the era. I mean, the ideas of masculinity in Hollywood have always been much more easier going, as it were. Men had to be tough, rugged, have a certain sort of panache and charisma and charm, and men were defined by how successful they were at work, or at sports, or in terms of finance, and really didn't have to focus much on how they appeared. In fact, talking about men's appearance back in the day really wasn't much of a focus at all. The real obsession, though, with male objectification really began in the 1980s and 1990s, when you see the rise of fitness regimes, bodybuilders, and men now becoming muscular specimens. When you think of the likes of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone and Rambo, even Dolph Lundgren, and Jean-Claude Van Damme, it really was the era of the action hero, men with six-packs, big muscles, shooting guns and fighting off the bad guy and saving the day. The time even focused on maybe a smaller man who could have easily been a short king back then, a guy like Tom Cruise, who is seen as the suave action hero, classically charming and good-looking. A good reference point is to see the actors who were cast as James Bond. If you look at Sean Connery when he was cast in the role in the 60s, it was because of his sophistication and charm that he got it. And he, of course, was considered a sex symbol at the time. But by the time of Daniel Craig, it was all now about body. Craig wasn't naturally good-looking, but he had a fantastic physique and looked like he'd worked out. There's also an emphasis now on lean muscularity combined with advertising of the time, most importantly offering a Caucasian ideal, which might explain why the likes of Brad Pitt, Chris Hemsworth, Hugh Jackman and Ryan Gosling have been held up as the pinnacles of handsomeness during the last 25 years. It also may help answer, along with historical prejudices of mass media, why so few black and Asian male sex symbols have existed in Hollywood, a trend that continues, including with these contemporary internet terms, and even on Hollywood Reporter's 2024 A-list report, where Zendaya is the only actor of color included. One thing, though, we see about this generation's sex symbols is that they seem to be nice, as it were. The rise of actor Timothée Chalamet as a Generation Z icon shows how the generation's values are influencing their choices of what is being found attractive. Chalamet may be considered classically handsome, but he's well known for his commitment to the good guy image, wearing sustainable and ethical clothing on the red carpet and designing a garment where all the proceeds were to support a charity preserving women's rights in Afghanistan. Other male actors, including Josh O'Connor, have reputations of being congenial and quirky in the interviews, videos which can be viewed online and which trend in seconds. There seems now to be an association with sensitivity, emotional vulnerability and good morals, and a much more authentic, down-to-earth personality. In recent research released, Generation Z ranks shared values far ahead of physical looks, and also shared identities, backgrounds, or even shared hobbies. Of course, being good-looking will always help, but the old bad boy persona seems to be out of fashion right now. In a world full of fake news, a lot of people are asking the question, can I trust what I'm reading? So now when you read a story about a celebrity doing a good thing, it does tend to maybe win you over. Also, people aren't buying tickets to movies now just because they want to see their big favorite star. And there's a complete disconnect now between what the studio executives deem attractive and what actual fans do as well. So even if you consider the so-called hot rodents or retrievers as a sort of backhanded compliment, these trends are still, however, taking place. And many ordinary men now who aren't celebrities still feel under pressure to attain the contemporary ideal, lean and muscular body shape that they are seeing now on social media. The idea today now is to be fit, to be open with your emotions, to be sensitive. And all of this now has completely changed the way men are relating to themselves. But at the end of the day, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who of course is known for being one of the most muscular men in Hollywood, is still one of the biggest box office earners. So maybe the 80s ideal hasn't quite changed that much.